Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. If this is the first time here, thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys how to cut and sew this Bustier Ankara blouse. If it's what you love to learn, kindly watch till the end. And if you're yet to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's jump right into this tutorial. This is the fabric I'll be using. It's an Ankara fabric and I'll be needing 1.5 yards. I also have my lining of 1.5 yard and chantilly lace 1 yard for the sleeve. Starting off with the pattern drafting, from the tip of my pattern paper, I'll mark 2 inches downwards and square across, and I'll label that shoulder. Placing my tape on the shoulder line, I will mark 10 inches downwards for my bust line and 16 inches for my half length. I'll square across and label these lines. Placing my tape on the half length, I'll mark 6 inches downwards for the full length. I'll square across and label the line. Back to the shoulder line, I will mark half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. On the 8 inches mark, I'll come downwards at 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope. I'll also mark 3 inches inwards on the shoulder line for my neck width. They use my ruler to connect from the neck width to 1.5 inches shoulder slope. Placing my tape on the shoulder slope, I'll mark 7.5 inches downwards from my armhole level and connect with a straight line. At the point where the armhole level ended, I'm going to extend the line and label that chest line. I'll mark the midpoint of this straight line. On that midpoint, I'll come in by ½ inch. Then on my chest line, I'm going to mark part of my bust circumference. They use my armhole curve to connect from the shoulder slope to the ½ inch I came in by to part of my bust circumference that I marked on the chest line to form my armhole curve. Now for the darts, I'll mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches on the chest line, half length, and on the full length, and I'll connect with a straight line. This straight line is the dart line. At the half length, I'll mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart line and connect the ½ inch on both sides, upwards to the dart line on the bust line and downwards to the dart line on the full length, just like the way you see me doing. After marking my darts, I'm going to mark quarter of my round body measurements now. So on the bust line, I've marked quarter of my bust circumference and I've also marked that on the chest line. I'm also going to add 2 inches sewing allowance. I'll do the same on my half length and on the full length. On the half length, I'll mark quarter of my waist circumference, add extra 2 inches sewing allowance, and I'll replace the 1 inch that I took. On the full length, I'll add 1 inch to the measurement I marked on the half length. After marking these measurements, I'm going to connect them with my ruler. Now what I'm going to do is to draw the bust circle. To do that, I'll place my tape on the dart line at the bust line and mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches round, like so. You're going to mark it with a dotted line in form of a circle, okay? After marking it, I'm going to connect all the points to form my bust circle. Now that I've gotten my bust circle, I'm going to mark my under bust line. To do this, I will place my tape at the half length and measure upwards to under the bust circle, okay? Then whatever I get, I'm going to mark that upwards from the half length. What I got for mine is 2.5 inches, so I'm going to mark 2.5 inches upwards from the half length. After marking, I will square across and label that under bust. To tighten my under bust, at the under bust line, I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart leg. The dart leg, not the dart line, okay? I'll mark ½ inch on both sides and connect it upwards to the bust line and downwards to the half length on both sides, like so. If you are making for a plus size, that is someone that is more busty, okay? You're going to use 0.5 inches or even 1 inch. I'll just cut this out so that I can have more space on my table. I'm going to take my side bust dart. To do this, I'll place my tape on the bust line and mark 2 inches downwards, then connect it to the bust point. These 2 inches I marked is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. I'll also mark the midpoint of my shoulder slant and connect it to the bust point also. Now I'm going to close the side bust dart. So just like the way you see me doing, I'm going to make the 2 inches I marked, the 2 inches line that I marked, to meet the bust line so that I can get my crease line. Now slash the crease line open, and I'll also slash the line that I drew. That is the line that ran from the center of my shoulder slant to the bust point, so that I'll be able to close my side bust dart without any difficulties. I'm going to do a 25% contour. To do this, I'm going to take the measurement of the opening I have between the shoulders and divide that by 4. Okay, I'm going to divide that by 4. Whatever I get, I'm going to mark it on this side of the shoulder slant. Okay, and I'm also going to mark it as extension on the armhole. Then afterwards, I'm going to connect it to the bust point. Then the one I marked for the armhole extension, I'm going to reconnect it to my armhole curve, like so. Because if you don't understand this, you can play it backwards so that you will be able to grab what I explained here. Okay. I'm going to mark 2 inches downwards from my shoulder line for my neck depth and connect it to the neck width. This is not the main neckline. This is just serving as a guide. Afterwards, I'll go ahead and cut out this front pattern. Now for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark all my vertical measurements, the shoulder line, bust line, half length, and the full length. Okay, the half length is different from the front half length. This back half length, the back half length is 14 inches, and from that 14 inches I marked 6 inches downwards for my full length. So the shoulder line, I'm going to mark quarter of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, and on that 8 inches mark, I will mark 1.5 inches downwards for my shoulder slope. I will also mark 3 inches inwards for my neck width, and connect from the neck width to the shoulder slope. Placing my tape on the shoulder slope, I'll mark my armhole level, which is 7.5 inches, and connect with a straight line. On the point where the armhole level ended, I'm going to extend the line, and that becomes my chest line. I'll find the midpoint of this straight line. On that midpoint, I'll come in by ½ inch. Then on the chest line, I'm going to mark part of my bust circumference. Then use my armhole curve to connect from the shoulder slope to the ½ inch I came in by, to put out my bust circumference to form my armhole curve. Now for the dart intake, I'm going to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches on the bust line, half length, and the full length, and connect with a straight line. It was at this point I realized that I made the mistake with the half length. I marked 16 inches instead of 14 inches, so I had to correct my measurements. So after marking half of my nipple to nipple measurements on the bust half length and on the full length, I'll connect with a straight line. Then on the half length, I'll come in by ½ inch on both sides of the dart line, and placing my tape on the half length, I'll mark 6 inches upwards and extend the dart line to that is 6 inches. Then connect the ½ inch I mark on both sides of the half length to the 6 inches upwards and downwards to the full length. For the back neck depth, I marked 1.5 inches and connect it to the neck width. What I'm going to do now is to mark what of my round body measurement and add my sewing allowance. On the chest line, I marked what of my bust circumference and added 2 inches sewing allowance. Same on the bust line. On the half length, I marked what of my waist circumference and add extra 2 inches sewing allowance and replace the 1 inch dart. Then on the full length, I added 1 inch to the measurement I got on the waistline and added 2 inches sewing allowance. Afterwards, I connected all the marks with my ruler. After connecting the marks, I'll find the midpoint of my shoulder slant and connect it to my dart line. At the half length, I'll come in by ½ inch at the center back and connect it upwards to the neck depth and downwards to the full length. This is to avoid any form of zipper bulge. At the full length of this bag, you can choose to leave it the way it is or you can give it a basque. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Placing my tape at the center back from the full length, I'll mark 4 inches downwards and connect it to the side back like so. I'll extend the dart line to the basque line, then go ahead and cut this out. Now we're going to be working on the neckline and the down part of the front. To do this, I'm going ahead to place another pattern paper into 2. I'm going to place my center front piece on it. I'll pin it down and I'll add ½ inch on the shoulder, then go ahead and cut this out. I will do exactly the same for the side front and for the back piece also. So each of these pattern pieces is going to be 2. Okay, so the side front, the center front is going to be on fold, while the side front is going to be 2 pieces. Then the center back is going to be 2 pieces and same with the side back. Okay, now while cutting the center back, I'm going to add 1 inch for zip allowance. So we're cutting each of these pattern piece in 2s because of the neckline. You cannot achieve the neckline if it is not double. Okay, so the pattern has to be complete before we can achieve the exact neckline. So I was done cutting and this is the front piece, the center front and the side front. So I'm going to place the shoulders of the center front and the side front together and use my masking tape to hold it down. Placing my tape on one of the shoulders, I'll mark 6.5 inches downwards. Then on that point where I marked 6.5 inches, I will connect it to the armhole like so. On that same line, I'll come in by 3 inches from the armhole. From the shoulder again, I'll mark 2 inches on the neckline and curve it to the shoulder like this. Use the curviest part of your curved ruler. Then I'll connect from the 2 inches I came down by on the neckline to the 3 inches I came inwards by on the armhole with my curved ruler. So I'll just blend it in like this so I'll not have any sharp edges. On the other shoulder, I'll come in by 1 inch and connect it to the 3 inches I came in by from the armhole. After connecting, I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline. Now for the back neckline, I'm going to place the front shoulder and the back shoulder together like this, and I'm going to trim off the excess. I'll make sure that the 2 shoulders align, okay, because the shoulder has to be equal so that one will not be longer than the other when we are joining our dress. So go ahead and trim off the excess at the back shoulder just like the way you see me doing. Now for the down part of this front pattern, I'm gonna head to add extra pattern to the full length. I'll mark the 2 inches sewing allowance I added on both sides. Placing my tape on the full length, I'll mark 5 inches downwards and square across. I will make a mark at the center like this, and from that center I'll mark 2 inches on one side like this. Then from the 2 inches I came in by, that is the sewing allowance I marked, I'm going to connect it with a curve to meet the 2 inches I marked from the center like so. I will also connect from that 2 inches I marked from the center to meet the dot line like this. I'll come up by 1 inch from the dot line, and from that 1 inch I'll connect it to the 2 inches sewing allowance I marked on the other side. Following the shape of this down part, I'm going to add half inch. I'm going to add half inch for turning with my lining. Okay, so this down part, you can actually play with this with your design at this down part. It does not have to be this specific design, just that we are trying to recreate what we have here. So go ahead and play with your design. Be creative on this down part. It does not have to be this specific design. Okay, so I'll add half inch. So after adding the half inch for turning, I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'll also extend the dot lines to the new full length. After cutting, I'm going to be cutting each of this pattern on my fabric and my lining, and I'll be adding half inch for joining. The only place I'll not add half inch is on the down part and on the shoulder, because I've already added the half inch. So I'll do this off camera because this video is already getting too long. Now to drop the sleeve, I will place my tape on the tip of my pattern paper and mark 4 inches downwards. This 4 inches is the bicep line. I will mark the elbow length. The elbow length is 12 inches and the full length is 21 inches. Okay, because this is a long sleeve. I'll spread across these lines and I will label them also. I'll also mark the arm length or the short sleeve length, which is 8 inches. I'll take one of my pieces and measure the armhole. Whatever I get is what I'm going to mark on the biceps line. Then I'll use my ruler to connect from the tip of my pattern paper, which is the starting line, to the measurement I marked on the bicep line. I'll get the midpoint of this slanted line and make a mark there. Then I'll use my curved ruler to connect from the tip to that midpoint, and from the midpoint to the end of the biceps line like so. Okay, so after making this curve, I'm going to retake my measurement to make sure it aligns with the measurements I got on my dress arm, on my top armhole. So it was more than, so I had to reduce the measurement so that it will be equal with that of my blouse. Okay, I'm going to minus 1 inch from my arm measurement, okay, because the chantilly net I'm using is very stretchy. So I will minus 1 inch from my round arm measurement, divide it by 2 and mark it there. Then I'll add 1 inch, or you can mark your arm measurement divided by 2 without adding allowance. Okay, then while sewing it, you're going to take that 1 inch allowance. So either ways. So after that, I'll do the same for the elbow. I will minus 1 inch from my elbow circumference and divide it by 2 and mark whatever it gave me there. Then I'll add 1 inch sewing allowance. Same thing on the wrist. After doing that, I'll connect the marks and cut it out. Then I'll go ahead and cut this on my chantilly lace unfold. So guys, I'll not include the sewing part of this tutorial in this video because it's getting too long. In the next video I'll be showing you guys how to join all these pieces together. So if you have not subscribed, do well to hit on that subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell, so once I upload this video you'll be the first to get notified. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next tutorial.